Hi guys, welcome to Racer's Urban Kitchen and to my very first YouTube cooking tutorial. I'm going to start with one of my favourite recipes, Tandoori Style King Prawns, accompanied with a coconut chutney. Super simple to make, less than 20 minutes I'd say. To begin with, I'm going to talk you through some of my ingredients. So I've got some spring onions here that we're going to use to garnish the prawns with later. Next to that we have some padron peppers that I bought from a local supermarket. We're going to grill these and put these on the barbecue sticks later. Use any peppers you wish as long as they're not too spicy. Next to that we have some Greek yogurt. I've chosen Greek yogurt, I like the taste of it, but if you're a vegan or a vegetarian and you want to swap that for soya or coconut yogurt, you're more than welcome to, as long as it's not too sweet. And we also have 2 tablespoons of tomato puree that we're going to be using today. Alongside that we have half a lime that we're going to squeeze, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, but feel free to use whichever oil you wish. This recipe is pretty flexible, so it's completely down to your own taste. I'm using some refrigerated dried coriander, which I bought from a local supermarket as well, just less than a handful. And then 3 tablespoons of garlic and ginger paste, which I bought from the local supermarket. Aside from the actual ingredients that are going to go in this dish, I'm going to talk you through some of the spices that we're going to be using as well. So to the left, we're going to be using what we call haldi in Indian, otherwise known as turmeric. So 1/4 teaspoon of that, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of garam masala, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin powder, 1/2 teaspoon of coriander powder, 1/4 teaspoon of chili flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of dried garlic granules, and 1/4 teaspoon of onion salt. I really do like onion salt, so I tend to use that a lot in my cooking. Alongside that, we've got a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper and some kaffir leaves, which we're just going to use for decoration later. So these are my juicy king prawns that I bought from a local supermarket. They already came with the tail off and the shell off. Luckily they didn't require too much cleaning, and what I've done is I've created a slit in the middle of it. I've done this because when it cooks, I feel like it kind of cooks in 2 parts and it plumps it up and gives it a beautiful butterfly effect. That's the reason I do this on the prawns, but you'll see later when we cook the dish why it really works. You can of course use raw prawns or prawns that are already cooked. I prefer to stick to ones that are already cooked just to lower the cooking time. Alongside all the ingredients, we're going to need a bowl to mix this in, along with 2 spoons. Right, all that's left to do now is mix this bad boy together. So we're going to get all the ingredients, the garlic and ginger, coriander, olive oil. We're going to squeeze the lime, add the tomato paste and the yogurt and all the spices. Give it a good stir until you see the prawns mixed with this pink paste. If you've got a couple of hours to marinate this, then great, but if you haven't, don't worry about it. You can cook it straight away as well. All that's left to do now really is put a pan on medium heat. Don't put any oil in there as we've already got oil in the mixture, and get your barbecue sticks ready to skew the prawns and the peppers on later. So just in case you're wondering, we're not going to use the spring onions just now. That's going to be used to garnish later. My pan's nice and hot and it's ready for the prawn mixture to go in. I'm going to leave them for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, maybe a bit longer, depending on how brown they get. So the prawns have been cooking now for about 8 minutes and they're pretty much done. I just tend to keep them in a little bit longer just to get that browner, more golden look on each side. And to help me do that, I just squeeze them down every minute or so. But don't worry, you see that they bounce back up relatively easy, and that's because of this slit that I've created. I find putting that butterfly slit in just allows them to get a bit more texture and a bit chunkier, which helps when you put them on the sticks later. All that's left to do now is to brown off the peppers. Now that the prawns are done, in the same pan I'm just going to throw in the peppers. I've put a few tiny pinprick holes in each one just so that there's no moisture build up. I'm going to leave these in on the same heat for a couple of minutes on each side until they brown off. So these peppers have been cooking for a couple of minutes now and they're nice and dark. I like the colour, so they're ready to come out and cool down on the side with the prawns before I skewer them onto the sticks. So once my pepper and prawns are cool enough to handle, I skewer them onto each stick. I generally put 3 or 4 on each one, followed by pepper, and then I garnish with some spring onion. All that's left to do now is make the coconut chutney. So now that the tandoori style prawns are ready, all that's left to do is make this coconut chutney. What you're going to need is some grated coconut, about 3 tablespoons, a handful of coriander, some yogurt, Greek yogurt, soya yogurt, whatever your preference is, a chili and half a lime and some salt. In the yogurt, I've used about 10 tablespoons in this blender, and I'm going to mix it with some freshly squeezed lime, the chili. I've added 4 tablespoons of water just to water it down slightly. I'm going to put the coriander in there, and I'm also going to mix the coconut with it. If you don't have access to coconut or you don't want to use the yogurt, you can swap these ingredients for coconut milk. I'm going to put this all together and give it a good blend. So I've blitzed this chutney mix in the blender for about 15 to 20 seconds now, and it's literally done. It's that simple. All that's left to do now is to pour it out into a serving dish to accompany pastas, savoury snacks, prawns, burgers, chips, you name it. It literally is so versatile. Have a play with the consistency. If you want it a bit more watery, add water. If you want it thicker, add more yogurt. If you need more salt, then feel free to add that too. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. We've literally come to the end of the recipe for the prawns and the chutney. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a chance to make it at home. Feel free to leave me some comments and some feedback. Let me know how you got on, and I look forward to posting some more videos. I've got lots of culinary influences in my family, from Turkey to India and East Africa, and I really look forward to sharing them with you. Thanks so much for tuning in to Race's Urban Kitchen. Until next time, bye.